fight the truth. We're living in a generation that is confused as it relates to the truth. Words have power, and the truth is meant to build up. Donald J. Trump says or tweets whatever he feels like saying or tweeting to his own destruction. Y'all need to hear me today. Just because you say what's on your mind and what you feel does not mean that you are a good steward over the truth.
أنا هاشم المختار وهذا برنامج أيامكم، فأهلا وسهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة. تحدثنا في الحلقات السابقة عن أسلوب حياة الشعب الأمريكي بمختلف أعراقه وقومياته وأديانه، وأوضحنا أن ما نراه اليوم في وسائل الإعلام وما تظهره لنا هوليوود مو حقيقي. يعني السلام والديمقراطية والتعايش وتقبل الآخر والأسود صديق الأبيض والمسلم واللاتيني عايشين بتعايش وود، هذا زيف وخداع وكلاوات.
The life of American black people in general is we're still behind everyone else. If the average white family controls $800,000, just say, well, the average African American would control $20,000 or $30,000. We're filling up the prisons. The life is the same. There's been no change. 2 weeks ago, when I was in California, you know, these riot squad with rifles and everything, they arrested me in the masjid. They said, you're trespassing, and I've been there for 40 years. I went to jail, I came out, I went back to the place, they came right back. So 2 months ago, I went to jail twice. We're not revolutionaries running around with guns here in America. Nonviolent resistance for us is transformation. You have to have a revolution in the mind. If you want to make a new world, you have to make new people.
United will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
The CIA is here, the FBI, all these people are here. Washington, D.C. is the capital, the center of criminality, the center of oppression. That is my reason for coming here to Washington, D.C. I would learn all the processes and methodologies that they use against the people.
اليوم ما راح نسولف لكم احنا عن واقع الشعب الامريكي، او والله هم شعوب امريكا، لان الحقيقة هم شعوب اكثر من شعب، والكل شعب اسلوب حياة معين وواجبات وحقوق تختلف عن الثاني. اليوم راح نخلي الامريكان هم اللي يسولفون عن حقيقة الولايات المتحدة الامريكية، حتى لا حد يعاتبني بعد. وكل المقاطع بهذه الحلقة اخذت من فيلم وثائقي واحد، فيلم واحد كشف لنا هذه الكوارث اللي تصير ببلاد الإنسانية والمساواة والعدالة والحرية والزعفرانية.
They have a general policy here in America. Number one, if you stand up and try to change, they'll say, join us. You could have what you want in the system. They try to bribe you. Just join us, it's okay. If you don't do that, then they'll try to scare you. If you don't shut up, if you don't join us, we're gonna take your house, your family, your car. We're gonna take your job. We're going to do all of that. You can't rent anywhere from anybody. If you're a movie star, we're going to tell the people in Hollywood, if you put him on, we're going to check your taxes. We're going to do all of that. So they leave you alone, right? The government was so skillful that it destroyed the real movements. It imprisoned people.
ينضموا لمن؟ ومن هم المشار إليهم بالكلام؟ معقول العوائل الحاكمة وأصحاب النظام الجديد؟ لا 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 مستحيل، ما ترهم هاي.
When you step outside of these doors, you must realize that you are fighting a war against 400 years of racism.
كما وتحدثنا سابقا عن أصحاب البشرات السمراء في أمريكا وكيف يعاملون منذ نشوء ما يسمى بالولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. جيء بهم في الأول كعبيد للعمل في الزراعة، بعد أن احتل أصحاب الدم الملكي أمريكا وقتلوا كل سكانها، ومن هذاك اليوم ومعاناة السود بأمريكا مستمرة إلى يومنا هذا.
America doesn't care about poor people until they ask for something, like give me rights, give me justice. A lot of folks might need health care. No, that's when they respond. They don't respond to police violence, but they respond to the way we protest. It's so hypocritical. I think a lot of these communities like St. Louis, like Baltimore, even the South Bronx, we're so poor. This is by design. Like, you'd better believe that institutional racism and oppression and capitalism are real elements that play into our impoverished and hopeless state. There's a reason why our schools are failing. There's a reason why our kids are allowed to drop out. No one wants us to climb up the food chain.
عملوا بالأول كعبيد، مهمتهم هي العمل والعمل الشاق وبدون أجور وبدون أدنى مقومات الحياة الكريمة لأي إنسان، أو حتى أدنى من ذلك بشوية. لم يعامل السود في أمريكا كبشر أبدا، عوملوا كحيوانات، وهذا الأمر لا يختلف عليه التاريخ. رغم كل زيفة وخداعة وتغيير للحقائق، لكن هذه عنده من المسلمات والكل يدري بها.
White people didn't want to live next to black people, and so it created suburbs and small little towns. That's like Ferguson, Florissant. These small little towns existed. You can tell by the flats, and it's a lot of homes, so they just stack poor people just back to back on top of each other. I live in the hood, which is like probably like one of the roughest parts in the state. Police don't come too often. People get shot every other day. Kids get shot. People kill each other. Black people kill each other. Always had a gun or had something on them. Always drug related. Same old story. Black people have always been a target.
عانوا من القتل حسب مزاجية مالكهم، أو الضرب المبرح، أو الاغتصاب، أو الحبس داخل أقفاص كالحيوانات. وفوق هذا وذاك كانت لحقتهم كوكلوكس كلاين تريد روسهم. ليش يابا؟ لأن احنا أصحاب الدم الملكي واحنا أسياد الأرض وما نريدهم يعيشون ويانا. شنو هاي؟
Most of the time what we do here, me, my family, we always, especially during the summertime and the springtime, we like to go fishing. Basically here we can try to catch a lot of bass. You got big mouth bass, small mouth bass, and also you got bluegill in this pond. Sometimes you can catch a catfish, but yeah, most of the time we're after bass when we fish here. It's just something to pass the time away and it's more relaxing, so that's why we try to come out here and fish and get away from, you know, everything basically. My daddy taught us to fish, and you know, we taught them to fish. They love fishing. We spend a lot of summer out here, most of the summer. You rarely ever see black people fishing, so I like it out here too because I ain't got to smell niggas.
المهم وراها بدت تحركات عديدة للخلاص من هذا الواقع، وبدت حركة الحقوق المدنية تطالب بحقوق الأفرو أمريكان كبشر. يابا احنا بشر مو بزازين، ايش بيكم؟ مارتن لوثر كينج ورفاقه أفنوا حيواتهم في سبيل الخلاص من بطش العرق الأبيض.
It's that simple. People are poor here. This is one of the lowest minimum wages in the country. Constant police harassment. The drug epidemic. Like, it's a lot of different factors that you're dealing with here that white supremacy benefits from, that the capitalistic government benefits from, and we sitting here and we starving. So people look at us, they think, oh, they just savages or they animals or they don't want to do better. It's not that. We don't have an opportunity to do better.
اليوم هم انتهت العبودية؟ ظاهريا اي زين. هم انتهت العنصرية والتفرقة ضد الأعراق غير البيضاء؟ ظاهريا هم اي، بس واقعا لا.
Tyree Crawford. Rest in heaven. James Carney III. Rest in heaven. Felix Calm. Rest in heaven. Christian Taylor. Rest in heaven. Tory Robinson. Rest in heaven. Brian Day. Rest in heaven. Michael Savvy. Rest in heaven. Billy Ray Davis. Rest in heaven. Samuel Du Bois.
White dude, he was executed. He was hanging around black kids. And so in America, if you hang around they treat you like a. On that day, he got the treatment of black people.
السود بأمريكا لا يزالوا يعانون من بطش العرق الأبيض، لليوم يعانون من البطالة والفقر والتهميش والحياة اللي ما تناسب أي بشر.
We have what we call the Del Mar divide, where one part north of Del Mar is redlined and neglected. It's abused via neglect. And the other side, you know, you get all the services and all the opportunities that most white Americans enjoy.
نرى أصحاب البشرات السمراء في أفلام هوليوود ناس قتلة همجيين عشوائيين ما يحبون الحياة، مو هيك؟ وأساسا ما يريدون يعيشون حياة كريمة، لهذا نشوف مساكنهم وبلداتهم عشوائية وخربة. هذا هو الوهم اللي زرعوه بعقولنا حتى تستمر حجتهم في قمع العرق الأسود.
Dude was just a wonderful soul, man. It was so strong. Like, he had a relationship with all of us, you know, like our brother. And we talked about things beyond just protesting and you know, police brutality. And he had a lot of compassion and a lot of heart and a lot of desires to do things greater than, you know, just standing up for his people. Standing up for his people and also bringing them together and letting us all coalesce and build a greater dream. According to the autopsy, he was shot and he was burned up.
زين، السود ليش يتاجرون بالمخدرات؟ ومنين تجي هذه المخدرات أصلاً؟ لماذا تغرق مدن السود بالمخدرات بينما مدن أصحاب السيادة لا؟ لماذا تغرق مدن السود بالسلاح بينما مدن أصحاب المعالي آمنة وهادئة؟ أساساً التجارة الكبرى للعائلات الحاكمة لأميركا وللعالم عموماً، يعني حكومة العالم الخفية، تجارتهم الكبرى الأولى هي المخدرات والثانية هي السلاح. يعني السود ما يقدرون يبيعون المخدرات لبعضهم ويصيرون مدمنين لو الحكومة تمنع دخولها لمدنهم، وأساساً ما يتاجرون بالمخدرات لو يلقون فرص عمل توفر لهم لقمة العيش إلهم ولعوائلهم. مو هيج؟ لو السود ما يلقون سلاح ليش يشترون سلاح كالمجانين ويسلحون نفسهم؟ صدق هم ليش السود يعود يشترون سلاح مثل ما شايفين؟
definitely believe that more than enough organizations and more than enough people had more than enough motives for what happened during SEALs. It's a hit list. It's a hit list with names. And SEAL's name was on that hit list. Mine is on that hit list. Several other people that was involved in this movement, name is on this hit list. We get daily threats from the KKK and other white supremacist groups. We get threats from police, law enforcement, government officials. And we also got to deal with the same oppression here in our neighborhoods because we come from the streets. We got to deal with rivals. It's a reason I have to ride like this. It's a reason. It's a reason.
إذا تتذكرون بالحلقة السابقة تحدثنا عن حركة أنتيفا اللي تناهض العنصرية وأفكار تفوق العرق الأبيض، وهمات حركة حياة السود مهمة هم جبناها بالطاري. هذه الحركتين وحركات أخرى مشابهة إلها ليش تأسست؟ إذا تلاحظون أنه أسماء هذه الحركات دفاعية مو هجومية، يعني أنتيفا معناها أنتي فاشيست أو ضد الفاشية، مثل أنتي فيروس أو أنتي تطور. هذول أصلا ضد ما ينص عليه الدستور الأمريكي أنه لكل مواطن الحق بامتلاك السلاح، لكنهم اضطروا بحسب كلامهم إلى حمل السلاح بعد كل العمليات العنصرية اللي تصير ضدهم من قبل البيض. يعني ما ردنا الطلايب بس تجي قوة.
It was the fact that we can't drive down the street without being harassed. It was the fact that we can't feed ourselves because this is a food desert. There's no money coming into the schools, no materials. These kids can't even take books home for homework. It's not enough books for them to take books home to do homework. We can't get a job because we black, because this country is built off of black oppression and black pain. That's what made people say, you know what, we tired of this shit. If y'all want war, we'll give you war. Your badge, the police department, the government. We want our freedom and we want it now, and we not asking.
حياة السود مهمة حركة مسالمة جدا. أقوى شيء عندهم هي المظاهرات السلمية اللي يرفعون بها اللافتات. أيضا اسمها دفاعي مو هجومي، تحسه مو اسم ردة فعل، يعني منو البدء.
All right family, what's going on family? What's up y'all? We're live doing a special show. We're live right here this Saturday. And I don't want to just put it on St. Louis because St. Louis has law enforcement and the prison officials. There's always a lot of corruption going on there. But just overall, when it comes to the prison system, it's a racialized torture system, if we want to just be very honest. There was a situation in New York. There was a brother who was held in New York in a prison on Rikers Island, and they just draw out when they can go on trial. They had to prepare people psychologically for the big executions. And that's where we're leading right to right now. Basically giving people, the police, the green light to brutalize people, go against the Constitution and brutalize people. And they're just yelling and applauding there. And that type of mentality is, again, Nazism. In Detroit and partially raised there, but I was also raised in Birmingham, Alabama, down in the South where Martin Luther King marched and all of the civil rights movement. That was like the heart of it. It's down there in Birmingham, Alabama. Racism against black people, it was more systematic. They incorporated it in the system. And I noticed that as a very young child in the school system. I noticed that black children, we were treated differently than the white children. The white kids would act out and do whatever, and they would just get barely a reprimand. But black kids who would do the same thing, they would get funneled into special education classes, they would get expelled. I've always, from that point, wanted to know the ins and outs of systematic racism. This was like in the early 70s when they started to take away the housing discrimination laws and made it that you have to rent houses and rent property and it has to be equal legally. There was a white flight and that took all the money and the wealth and the resources out, and it just left a shell of the city, and the people were impoverished, and they blamed the poverty on the people. Blamed a lot of the ills of Detroit on just black people. It's just that black skin, just black people being in control, and that's going to turn the place into a ghetto. No, it was white flight. Especially in America, you don't have any protection at all. When you have the president of the United States encouraging law enforcement to brutalize people, that comes out on us. So we have zero protection. They can come and blow our brains out at any given time, and we can't really do anything. Actually, America is the only country in the world where you can kill people outside of war and legally get away with it. You can't kill nobody in no other country and get away with it. You can't do that in North Korea. You can't do it in Russia. You can't just go and kill somebody and then just walk away and get acquitted. How can you be the beacon of democracy? How can you be the gatekeeper of the world and you have that going on over there? I know the media out here will always try to call me a leader of Black Lives Matter, especially the people at Fox News. They're real good at telling that lie. I don't even consider myself a leader because I'm in a prison where I can be harmed and I can't do anything about it yet. So I'm just another victim of white supremacy trying to figure out how to get up out of the prison of racism. Obama was just a tokenized black person. The white supremacists, they do magic tricks. They like to say, okay, we're gonna give you one black person and put that one black person in a high position, and now everything is equal. You have nothing to complain about. And putting one black person in a high position means absolutely nothing because systematic white supremacy is a group phenomenon. So tokenizing one black person and saying, okay, he's the leader over here, he's the president, he's the governor, he's the mayor. They did that for a lot of black cities, by the way. In the 1970s, they made a lot of black people mayors of these cities, but they had no real power because they didn't have the power to allocate resources.
نلتقيكم بعد الفاصل. حركات مثل أنتيفا وحياة السود مهمة وأفرادها، هذول الأفراد وهاي الحركات يشوفون نفسهم ناس مهمشين ببلدانهم، معدمين، حياتهم هباء غير معترف بها أبدا. إذن هم مو لا منتمين للوطن ومو عشوائيين، بالعكس هم يحاولون يندمجون ويا المجتمع رغم أنهم أساس هذا المجتمع، ويحاولون مرارا أنه يحصلون فرص عمل مثل أقرانهم البيض. يحاولون دائما أنه يبتعدون عن الدائرة اللي انوضعوا بها مجبرين. بالمناسبة كوكلوكس كلاين معناها دائرة، هسه شنو الربط ما أدري.
Good. How you doing, brother? Y'all check out this car I got in. It's an old 62 Belvedere I just got in. Just that side. It's a factory push button car. Joe, you want to come in here and sit down and eat? Majority white city, Detroit, Michigan. Eventually they started bringing the blacks in from the south. That's where all the cars are made at, the car factories, and now it is nothing but a war zone in Michigan. Memphis, Tennessee, the whole city council there is black.
هذه الدائرة فرضت عليهم انه يعيشون ببيئة غير آمنة، غير صحية، ما مأمنين بها لا على حياتهم ولا على حياة أولادهم. فرص عمل ماكو، ومخدرات سايبة بالشوارع ما حد يسأل عليها، هجمات عنصرية ضدهم، وسلاح متطشر بالشارع. هذا هو الواقع.
Government wants to make it look like the whole United States, we're all peaceful, one happy race, one happy religion, and it's nothing like that. I mean, even though they've been pushing integration down our throats now for 50 years, we segregate ourselves. And the government's figuring that out. You know, the whites, you know, it's called white flight. When we see a neighborhood getting too dark, we actually just pack up and move. We want to send our kids to majority white schools. Like I tell people, segregation starts every Sunday in America. You can say that this place is integrated and we're all happy and peaceful, but every Sunday at 11 o'clock, that's when the world becomes segregated every day, and it's called the church. Because when everybody goes to church, we go to white churches, the blacks stay in their black churches, and the Mexicans stay in whatever Catholic. That's when segregation starts. The schools segregated, prisons segregated. I mean, that's just the way it is.
هذول الأفراد شافوا الحقيقة بعينهم، بل عاشوها شخصيا، وقرروا يفنون حياتهم في سبيل قضية. يعني مو مرتزقة يقاتلون من أجل قضية ما تعنيهم، مثل صاحبنا عايش هناك ويدافع عن بلد آخر ضد بلده. المود ارتزاق المال فقط، مرتزق، وأفنى حياته يقاتل ضد بلده، ضد وطنه. لا والله، هو أفنى حياته ينشر منشورات على الفيس. المهم، هذول الأفراد هم أشخاص صالحين حقيقيين يحاولون أنه يغيرون واقعهم.
Blacks are just animals. I mean, they're savages first off. During the Jim Crow law era, they sit there and try to say that, oh, well, these people are just as good as us, our equals. Well, y'all had 55 years of trying to put yourself on a plane with the white man and still haven't achieved it. You're still out here robbing, stealing, raping, killing.
We've seen it before! So what are we going to say to them? Being black is not a crime, right? Right! Being black is not a crime! Same story every time! Being black is not a crime! Same story every time! Being black is not a crime! Same story every time! Being black is not a crime! Same story every time! Being black is not a
ما يعاني منه السود في أمريكا جاء بخطة وسار بخطة ووصل إلى ما وصل إليه بخطة. انتزاع الحقوق منهم جاء بخطة محكمة. فرض السيطرة اللا إنسانية في بلد الإنسانية جاء بخطة محكمة. لكن البعض من المهمشين حاولوا يقاومون هذه الخطة بخطة، لكن دائما ما يصطدمون للأسف بواقعهم، واقعهم المرير.
When people ask, do I suffer or do I have friends who suffer? In the system of white supremacy globally, it's a prison system, understand that. Under that system, there's different forms of suffering. We shouldn't be in the prison to begin with, but I've had friends who were railroaded into a jail system, who I got friends who are doing life in jail over drug charges right now. I know people who were killed by law enforcement. I know people who were murdered and their murders were never solved. See, that's what happens with black people. When we die, there's no big outcry on who to punish. This is why we see so many people killed and murdered with complete impunity, because there's like an unwritten rule that if you are a person classified as white, if you have a good enough excuse, you can kill, harm, maim, or do anything to a black person.
لماذا لا يتم التقسيم العادل للثروات في أمريكا؟ معقول ثروات أمريكا ما تكفي الجميع؟ أو هل إن السود ناس غير منتجين؟ بالعكس، قاتلوا في صفوف الجيش الأمريكي من مئات السنين واشتغلوا بالزراعة والصناعة. أساساً هم اللي بنوا أمريكا اللي نحدها اليوم. لعد ليش ما يتحصلون على أبسط حقوق الإنسانية في بلد الإنسانية؟
A lot of these white supremacist groups are stuck in stupidity. You look at the civil rights movement, you look at the Black Panthers, you look at other groups that were comprised of black people fighting for rights. And the FBI, the CIA, COINTELPRO, they made it their business to get in there and disrupt these groups. How is it that a group that has been savagely murdering black people for over 200 years in this country is still in existence?
The reason the Klan chose the color white is supposed to represent purity, basically, purity of the white race, to keep the white race pure. The Klan's strength lies in secrecy, so we didn't want people to know who our members were, and that's one of the main reasons why they wear the hood, because you have members who are cops, you have members who are sheriffs, you have doctors, lawyers. Everybody was in the Klan. Proven fact is 1 out of 3 Americans was in the Klan. We've had presidents that was in the KKK, like Harry Truman, Warren G. Harding. We've had several presidents that was in the KKK. So, yeah, it's an American tradition. Different stripes will be added to the robe for different ranks, different colors, like purple, that's what I am. I have a purple robe, which means I'm the leader, the Imperial Wizard. A green robe means Grand Dragon, which means he's over the state. A red robe, which is a Great Titan, means he's a Providence or county officer of the Klan. And then white robe just means regular member.
What we see here in America is hundreds of years of racism. And right now, Black Lives Matter, it's, white people, Latino people, Muslims, Christians, whoever, that feel the way that we feel. You know, gays are part of this fight. That feel the way that we feel and we fight. Racism is alive, but it's concealed. When did racism resurface in America in a real way? When a black man became president. No one wants us to come out of these shackles. There was a war fought when they wanted to pull us out of slavery. It was a war, right, on American soil because we were coming out of slavery. People don't want to see us thrive. You live in poverty. You live in these destitute situations. You're hurting, you're in pain. And now we have this thing called gentrification where there are white folks and other young professionals coming in and pushing poor people out of their ghetto, right? Gentrification is racism. They're pushing us out of our communities. Landlords are raising the rents up and they can't do anything about it. We can, right? Because we're fighting them, we're teaching them how to fight back. There are a lot of groups that we work with to do this type of work. But look at what's happening. Like, no one gives a about poor people until when? Until they're fighting for themselves.
مثل ما كان الإتجار بالبشر جريمة، يجب أن تكون التفرقة جريمة يحاسب عليها القانون، وإلا هذا القانون خراعة خضرة. يجب على القانون أن يكون قانونا حقيقيا صارما مع الجميع ودون تفرقة، يعطي الجميع نفس الحقوق ونفس الواجبات دام أنهم يعيشون في نفس البلد ويتبعون ذات القانون اللي هو القانون متفصل عليكم تفصال.
The bad thing about America, too, is through the media, they make it look to the world. America tries to put on a show. I mean, that's what it is. It's a puppet show. It's what America does through their television and their media. They try to make it look like it's all peaceful here in the United States. This is a great place to live. No, we're actually in a communist nation right now. We can't even have freedom of speech here. If you're white, you ain't got no freedom of speech here. Your beliefs pretty much have to be kept inside the house because they'll come take your kids away from you. They will. If they find out what I believe in, that I'm a Klansman, they'll try to take my kids from me. And all I want to do is live separate from all the other races. I'd rather be around my own kind. That's all I want, just like God intended. I hope and pray for a racial war where it's no holds barred and we can just go on and either annihilate these people or they can go on back to their country. That's what I would like to see, is a race war.
وعليكم السلام غاتي تفضل.
The KKK exists because America wants it to exist. They are the biggest terrorist group to ever operate in this country, okay? And they're to me, they're worse off than the people who destroyed the World Trade Centers. They're worse off than people who go and shoot nightclubs full of innocent gay people up. The KKK is the worst terrorist organization because the American government allows them to exist. And that's the problem. They need to destroy and disband the KKK.
Klansmen, halt for God. for race, for nation, for the Ku Klux Klan. Klansmen, step in and light the cross. Behold the fiery cross, still brilliant. All the troubled history failed to quench its hallowed flame. It shall burn bright as morning for all decades, to be held by the hearts and hands of all Klansmen. It shall be light lit from sea to sea. In the fiery cross we glory beneath its sacred glow. My oath was made under this cross. It shall ever live in song and story. I swear its light shall never fade. God give us men, tall sun-crowned men, who will not flinch at duty and who will not lie, who will uphold the fight for white supremacy. White power! White power! White power! White power! White power! White power!
لماذا إذن هذا الشرخ الكبير بين الشعب الأمريكي وحكومته؟ لماذا لا يثق المواطن الأمريكي بحكومته التي تسير حياته؟ لماذا أساساً لا تلتفت السلطة إلى ما يحدث في شوارع الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، البلد الأول عالمياً بالكلاوات؟
I'm in the cross streams between a broken system that is more about profit than it is human nature. I got a governor sitting on $20 billion surplus for affordable housing, hasn't come off for nothing but 5, and only thing I see them build here is more hotels, okay? You know, I live on the street. There are a lot of homeless people living on the street, but we can be taken off if the government or some of my fellow citizens would step up and demand that government officials put an end to this and spend money in the right places to get people off the street. Because at some point, you have to help people that can't help themselves.
A lot of it is just the unfortunate fact that most people in Philadelphia are only about 2 paychecks away from homelessness. So that means you don't have a job for 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're going to be homeless because you are literally living from paycheck to paycheck. You need that next job in order to continue paying rent. And if you don't pay rent, then you will be evicted. From my perspective, I really believe that the route to homelessness in Philadelphia is the fact that there is a very high population below the poverty line. A lot of people, if you lose 2 paychecks, then that's not going to be a big deal. But in Philadelphia, that is an extremely big deal for about 40% of the population. Anyone can become homeless. A lot of people become homeless because of some sort of catastrophic event in their life. Maybe a medical bill was just too high, or a fire in their house, maybe a divorce or something like that could potentially cause homelessness.
لا يا بلا، أمريكا بلد الأحلام. بس أكيد أنتم كذابين، أنتم جماعة روسيا، مو أنتم من هاي الصفحة، أكيد كذابين.
There's always been single mothers in African American communities ever since slavery, ever since they took the men out of the families to create what's happening now. This is just a continuation of what started when they first brought us here. And families that were led by African American females flourished. I think it's more of an issue of these teenagers having kids, and you can't expect a 14 or 15-year-old, first of all, they're not old enough for him to be a father, and he's a child. No one talks about that. They skip all the way up until they talk to the child after they've done something, and they blame it on not having a father. Well, Your father was a kid. He wasn't a man. And you couldn't move into the house with your mom, who was the same age, 15, 16. I mean, they can't even drive yet, vote, go to a club, but they want them to be parents. It doesn't make sense.
وكل ما سبق إذ لم يكن كافياً لمعرفة حقيقة ما يجري هناك في أمريكا التي تصدر نفسها حاكمة للعالم ومصدراً لحقوق الإنسان والحياة الكريمة، وتحاسب من يخترق حقوق الإنسان في بلدان أخرى، ويلتحق بذيلها العديد من الشباب غير الواعي المتيم بأفلام هوليوود. فما سنراه الآن هو ملخص لحياة الشعب الأمريكي المو أبيض.
So right now you're still in East Baltimore. This is Latrobe housing projects. Everyone lives close together, so everybody know each other around here. As you can see, it's a rough neighborhood. Drugs, police brutality, high crime rate, and diet. What we eat, it's messed up. We don't have good food around here to eat. You have grocery stores where families like buy snacks for like meals. High poverty, low education rate, teen pregnancy high, a lot of killings, murders, shooting around here. A lot of my friends lost their lives in this neighborhood. People can't get a job, they sell drugs. It's right here, you know, wait for people to come, boom, 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 you know, and that's how they make money. It's uncontrollable, you gotta survive. Look, look, it's a jungle. So in the jungle, you gotta act like a lion amongst other lions. You gotta act like a beast amongst other beasts. So this is survival of the fittest at the rawest form. You have to survive. People's minds can't expand. If they're close together, they're frustrated and they don't know how to express themselves. That what's draw violence. The government designed these housing projects and they keep people suppressed. What's going on?
Basketball. 5-0.
Oh, for real? Yeah. So what y'all got planned for the day?
Basketball.
What is some of the bad stuff that y'all see?
Getting shot. People shooting, guys.
How many of y'all saw somebody get shot before? Raise your hand. I saw somebody get shot. 'Cause I'm gonna tell you what, you guys cannot be around bad people.
All right. You meet all kinds of people. It's all kinds. Some you would like to think are racist because you'll see people getting out their cars and they'll see you coming and they'll hurry, and it seems like they'll hurry up and run into the house like they don't want to talk to you or get your mail or anything.
So what you doing after you graduate?
I probably go, after I graduate, I probably go to Atlanta, push some music. I don't even care if I gotta go out there homeless though. Just on the simple fact.
But with that, like, bro, college, you think you could do college? Honestly.
Not really.
Not really, like.
Not really, just cause of financially where we come from.
Growing up on the streets that we grew up on, we realized that, like, at, what, 12, 13? Yeah, we had been around gunshots, people getting murdered, drugs all our life. I had asked a teacher that one day. I had said, Miss, why don't we get homework no more? The reason is we don't get homework is they don't feel like doing the work. If you got 40 kids to a classroom, you got grade 40 kids' papers, tests plus homework, they say, oh, we ain't gonna get around to all that, so we just not gonna do it. No, we need the education.
هذه حقيقة من يدعون الإنسانية وتقدم الإدارات إلى أبلغ مراحلها. بس دقيقة، أكيد هذول بس الجمهوريين هيجي. أكيد الديمقراطيين مو عنصريين، صح؟
The Democratic Party uses it to keep black people voting for them. Those Republicans are racist, but actually, it's the Democratic platform that basically is what I call the slave master. today. Meaning what? We're going to provide for you. We're going to be the ones who help you. We'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you this. What is that? It's just to keep control over them. And the words that are being said to black people is that, well, you know, you live in a white supremacist country, and because you're black, you can't do this and you can't have that. That's a lie. They have to keep racism out there because that's how they keep the black vote. They keep the black vote by saying those other people are racist. And remember what they did to you. So what it does is it keeps us bitter, keeps black people focused on the negative stuff that happened versus what we need to do and be as a people in a land of opportunity and freedom. See, so it's propaganda. It's a device, it's a tool that's used to keep people's vote.
Voted against the president, right? We had to remember that the Democrats won the popular vote.
It's the system that is built controlling people of color and poor people.
They've never apologized for racism.
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men.
The greatest division in our country, in my opinion, is the political division. You see, between the Democrats and the Republicans. They're looking at the next election. They're trying to find something and say things about the next election so that they can win. You know, just like with Russia. Oh, he's Russian this and the Russian this and I mean, it's all, you know. And I just believe right now that more blacks are coming to the realization that the Democratic Party can't control us anymore like they've done in the past. Listen, racism has become a political game that's played by politicians.
Mission to go to a fucking park.
Racism exists, but racism really doesn't matter.
ضربنا حكومات منتخبة ديمقراطيا ووقفنا بصف الدكتاتوريات في كل مرة كنا نرى فيها مصالحنا. آخر عبارة من مذكرات الرئيس الأمريكي الأسبق باراك أوباما. هذه العبارة اختصرت مجمل التعاملات للإدارات الأمريكية مع شعبها ومع العالم. أودعناكم.
نعيش في عالم حياة السود فيه لا تسوى، كأن للسود شبه حياة أو كأن السود للحياة لا تهوى. فهذه الدنيا تحولت للسود مقبرة، فالسود تباع، السود تشترى، لكن لا أحد يسمع، لا أحد يرى، بل الكل يسأل: أهناك عنصرية يا ترى؟ كأن التاريخ لا يشهد على ألف مجزرة، على بشر يستعبدون بشر، قرون من الإبادات وذنوب لا تغتفر. وللآن أغنى بقاع الأرض في الفقر والجوع تحتضر، قارة منهوبة، مجرمون بلا عقوبة، إنسانية مغلوبة للحق لم تنتصر، وإفريقيا سجينة لظلمهم رهينة، بروحها الحزينة لأحرارها تنتظر. وأبيض لأسود ما يوما اعتذر، وكيف يعتذر وهو نصب نفسه العرق السامي؟ أبيض ينهب أرضي ويغلق الحدود أمامي، أبيض يسرق ويسلب ويقتل ويصادر أحلامي، أبيض يدعي التنوير والتحرر وهو مؤسس الفكر الظلامي. فالظلام لا دين له، ولو له فدينه إجرامي. يا إخوتي الكرام، معذرة إن أطلت في الكلام، معذرة على إزعاج ضمائر النيام. نهاية نقول: حياة السود مهمة، وعلى البيض النزول من القمة، قمة مقيتة، قمة مسمومة مسمة. ختاما نذكر إنسانية متناسية بحقيقة كالجبال راسية، بحقيقة على البعض دوما كانت قاسية. كلنا أبناء آدم وكلنا سواسية. سلام لكل فكر يريد التنفس، فالفكر حر والحر لا يخرس.